Quarterly Community Roundtable for Sickle Cell Disease called Advancing Together, brought to you by the Sickle Cell Foundation of Arizona and our 360-degree SCD Hub community partners. Today's event, honoring and celebrating Black History Month, is a hybrid event where we are hosting both in-person participants at the historic Dunbar Pavilion located in Tucson, Arizona, and broadcast live to reach a broader audience across the state and beyond, as we connect, empower, educate, and advocate for those families living with sickle cell disease. If you are joining us online on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, we encourage you to participate with online comments and download the 360 SCD Hub app through the QR code on the broadcast or by visiting www.360scdhub.org to be eligible for interactive challenges and giveaways. This broadcast is being powered and produced by the Force for Health Network. Now let's meet our co-host and moderator, Courtney Slonacker, Executive Director for the Southern Arizona Red Cross, to kick off the program.
Take my cues from Lucy here. Oops.
There we go.
Are we good, Lucy?
Let's see. We are good.
Hey, everybody. Here we are.
Go ahead.
Do I need to pause my computer? All right. Hi, everybody online. Hello, Courtney Slonacker. I'm your Executive Director for the Southern Arizona Chapter of the American Red Cross. Welcome to everybody. Happy Friday. It's such an honor to welcome you all today. Like the intro said, in celebration of Black History Month, but also in celebration of advancing together our Sickle Cell Forum initiative. Just a little bit of
Hi, I don't know if anybody can hear. Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Can you hear us?
Oh, okay. We couldn't hear any audio up until just now.
Oh, you're
So
kidding. Oh, my
no,
gosh.
so everything, I think we've been putting in the chat box that we've had no audio. So anybody online hasn't been able to hear any of the intros so far.
Oh, Courtney, you might have to kind of rehash that very quickly. Okay, but Fran, you're up and you've got the stage.
Awesome. So I will just take a minute to just say hi and welcome everybody from the newborn screening program, where we every day are doing screens on every baby born in Arizona to identify newborns who have sickle cell disease and get them started in early treatment and care. We make referrals to the Sickle Cell Foundation of Arizona for every newborn to make sure that they have access to community health workers to help the families navigate through the systems that can sometimes feel complex and overwhelming with a new diagnosis. So we are always happy to help out wherever we can, and we welcome everybody to today's roundtable. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. I think we're going to have Sarah and Moses come back up. Bring them back up. Sarah, Moses, come back up here. Hey, if you forgot something, now is the time to say it. All right? How many times do you get to take two? This is awesome. Come on up. Okay, hold on. All right. Okay, mic's on.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Sickle Cell Roundtable. It is my honor and pleasure to introduce to you Sarah Spry-Meyer. But before I do that formal introduction, I want to say that I'm the president and founder of the Sickle Cell Foundation, and it's been a pleasure and a joy to work with the Red Cross. They were the foundation to starting this roundtable. And I want to thank all the hospitals in Arizona, specifically the Banner Hospitals Network, all of the banners in Arizona. I want to thank the PCS, Feeding Children Hospital, and I want to thank all the partners that we have. And above all, I want to thank the sickle cell community. You are the reason why we are here. And to that extent, I want to thank Sarah for assuming the position of the chair of our board of directors. She is an amazing, amazing person. I can't talk enough about her. She's an inspiration to me. I depend on her guidance, and the Sickle Cell Foundation is going to grow through your leadership. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Moses, and hello, everyone in the room. And online, this is our take two, so you got to see our practice session, and now you get to hear it now with audio. So hopefully we're monitoring the chat and people can hear us. So thank you for the introduction, Moses, and everyone that's here today. It's an honor to be the board chair, as I was saying. I think I'm about a weekend, but I've been a part of the foundation for several years now, and the reason of that is because of Moses, the passion that he brings, the advocacy, the voice that he's giving so many people that don't always feel that they have a voice. And so that is just driven me to be part of this because I want to help get that voice out there to everyone within our community. And you'll be seeing a lot of great things over the next year or so with Moses and I, specialties roundtables and other events where we want that voice to become more active and talk more about stigma and how we can reduce the stigma around this disease. So looking forward to a whole bunch of wonderful speakers today, and let's get the rest of this going. Back to you, Courtney.
Courtney, we've got Cindy coming up just to speak on advocacy.
All right, our next speaker online is Miss Cindy Comar, formerly with the Arizona Blood Alliance, a great partner, and now with the Arizona Chronic Care Together. Cindy, welcome online.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come speak with you today. I'm excited to share with you the Arizona Chronic Care Together Coalition. We go by the ACT Coalition, and we're a group of over 40 different patient advocacy groups in the state of Arizona that support those who have chronic conditions. So the Sickle Cell Foundation of Arizona is part of the coalition, as is the Arizona Blood Alliance, who both serve sickle cell community in Arizona. So we're excited to have them as part of the coalition. And what we do is we provide a voice for the patient to legislators, to agencies, to really try to make sure that the patient voice is at the table when they're having discussions with legislation that will impact all of us. So if you're interested in getting more engaged, we do have a patient advocacy group within the coalition for patients and caregivers so that you can get involved, learn more about how to advocate. We do educational parts of each meeting that we have, as well as sharing with you what's going on at the state capitol, what's going on with the state agencies, the governor's office, and all those things. So just let us know if you want to get more involved. But advocacy is important, either from a personal standpoint of advocating for yourself at the hospital, at the doctor's office, with your insurance company, or advocating for public policy at the state legislature. So it's just important to get involved in that so that you have your own voices heard and all of our collective voices are heard. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy. This was just.
I am here in full support with Dr. Robert Gilio, who is not, he's actually drowning on the car right now. But again, we're going to work together and we're going to launch this Reality Health Games where you guys can buy tickets and then further support the sustainability of this app so that once the grant ends, this whole cool stuff doesn't end. Okay, so heads up for that, and that's all.
Thanks, Lucy. If you haven't downloaded the app, please do it. We know that our world engages in a heavy digital way, and so please download the app and get on it. There's so many cool aspects to it, but it's a great way to connect with the sickle cell community as well. All right, Lucy, am I back on agenda now?
Yes.
Sweet. All right, we're doing it. We're doing it. All right. Let me just say, it is, again, an absolute pleasure and honor to bring up Dr. Yvette Miller. She's one of our executive medical officers at the American Red Cross. She spearheaded the entire sickle cell campaign for the American Red Cross enterprise-wide across the country because they recognized that we didn't have the right blood on the shelf at the right time for sickle cell patients. And this is the woman that is making that happen. I said it earlier, but an unabashed leader, not afraid to ask the hard questions, not afraid to point out the hard things or the areas where our organization maybe hasn't put enough attention, energy, and resources to. So it's my absolute pleasure to bring Dr. Yvette Miller up to talk about the history of sickle cell, its impact on the community, and how we've addressed it. Dr. Miller.
Sorry. So, good afternoon, everyone. It is such a pleasure to be here. I'm not a podium chick, so it's hard for me to stand still. It's just been joy working with Moses and Courtney and Samuel and Crystal and all the folks who have put this particular event together, but working with them over the years just shows how much this community is committed to meeting the healthcare needs of this patient population as well as all patients. My second post with the American Red Cross was here in Tucson. I was the medical officer for the Arizona region until 2000. I moved away in 2011. So Arizona is really my second home, so I love being here. So I'm going to start out a conversation that is rarely heard about the American Red Cross and its history of segregating blood. So how this story unfolds is that in the early 1940s, at the beginning of World War II, we knew that we were going to have to provide blood and plasma to the war theater. And so at the time, the American Red Cross, we didn't collect blood to the degree that we collected now, but we were the primary blood collector in the country. And so we had some organized places where we collected blood, but what was true at the time was that number one, segregation was the law of the land. But the Red Cross at the time did not segregate blood donation sites. When the U.S. military approached the American Red Cross to ask them to provide blood to the armed forces, it was the policy of the U.S. military to segregate blood. The blood of black soldiers could not be transfused to white soldiers. White soldiers' blood could be transfused to anybody, but black soldiers' blood could not be transfused to white soldiers. And so, under duress, the American Red Cross did uphold the policy of segregating blood, not just for the U.S. military, but throughout their collection sites throughout the United States. And we knew at the time, and the Red Cross acknowledged it at the time, this was the early 40s, that there was no reason to segregate blood because there's no biological basis for segregating blood. But they had said that they were going to adhere to the policy of the U.S. military. And Mary McLeod, I think most people here have probably heard about the civil rights leader, Mary McLeod Bethune, and other civil rights leaders of the time came to the American Red Cross and basically said to them what I'm saying now is there's no biological basis for segregating blood and it needs to stop. And they even, Mary McLeod Bethune and other civil rights activists actually got Eleanor Roosevelt and other people in the government involved, but they were powerless against the laws of segregation in this country. So until 1948, the Red Cross continued to adhere to the policies of segregating blood. The Black community and other folks who supported the Black community boycotted the American Red Cross, so we did not donate blood, as well as there were financial boycotts, but the larger community really adhered to and provided services to the American Red Cross. So in 1948, finally, the American Red Cross made a decision to stop segregating blood. It was a national policy to stop segregating blood. But because there are literally hundreds of Red Cross chapters throughout the country, the chapters were run by local leadership. And so those chapters basically could do whatever they want. And so for many parts of this country, particularly in the South, chapters did not stop segregating blood until the late 50s and some of them the early 60s. So there are people today, alive today, who remember when the Red Cross segregated blood. And that is one of the reasons why it has been difficult for the Black community to trust the American Red Cross under any circumstances. And then we add on particular incidents, which is still fresh in the hearts and minds of people in communities that have not received equitable service. I have family, my family is from, my father's family is from New Orleans, and still today, there's conversation about how the American Red Cross did not provide equitable services to, recovery services to folks after Hurricane Katrina. So there are so many communities around the country whose pain and trauma is still real and palpable with them today. so that it makes it difficult for us to invite and get the trust of communities to donate blood. So one of the things that we did, we came to understand that the Red Cross asking diverse communities, the Black community, the Latino community, LGBTQ community, Asian communities to donate blood, because in many of those communities we are not a trusted source. So we came to understand immediately that we would have to partner with organizations in the community that were trusted. And then once those partnerships manifested themselves and showed that the Red Cross can be trusted because we are partnering with organizations that you trust, then it became easier, and the partnerships just grew and grew. And so next, July the 1st will be my 30th year working for the American Red Cross. And literally the last 5 years have been the most welcoming and loving and generous, back and forth exchange between the community and the American Red Cross I have ever seen. And that's because not only biomedical, so the Red Cross is like 5 or 6 lines of service: disaster services, training services, biomedical services. But biomedical services has been the leader in showing the organization how to partner with organizations in the community to get our work done. And it's just been a blessing to be in this space. And are we going to bring up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
All right. Yes.
All right.
So you. Okay.
So
So that was just the overview of what we're getting ready to talk about now, is the importance of partnerships. But I needed for you all to know the back history of the American Red Cross in terms of segregating blood, as to why it became really, really difficult to invite communities in a trusting way.
thank you, Dr. Miller. Okay, so now she just mentioned partnerships, right? That's the core of advancing together, right? It's all the partnerships that we foster and create, the love we put into those partnerships. That's what makes us move the needle. So it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Yvette Miller, Crystal Jackson. I almost said your maiden name. I know. Crystal, I paused. Crystal Jackson of the American Red Cross and Sam Ross of the Arizona Cheaters. We got a quick panel. If y'all could come up and get comfortable together.
Real quick, I'm Sam Ross, Arizona Cheaters Foundation. I just wanted to present something to Ms. Courtney, because as you guys know, she's so busy. She's going to be leaving here real soon. She didn't show up to our awards banquet, but on behalf of our foundation, we want to present the Community Partner Service Award.
Yeah.
All right, now I'll give you.
Now we It'll make me blush. So, what do I do with my flowers? I feel like I'm at the Grammys. So this is our panelist. My first question for everybody, and then Crystal's going to go ahead and take over, is can each of you talk about the importance of partnership, but like how do we get there? I think it's easy to say we need partners, and all of us probably in this room know we can't do our work, any of our missions without partners. But from your perspective, Sam, thank you for this generous, kind award and making me blush. And this will be cherished in our chapter forever. So we'll turn it over to you guys. Chris, we'll start with you.
Education, definitely education. Educating the community is big for me. When I was asked by the wonderful Courtney to join the Arizona Red Cross Sickle Cell Committee, that was a biggie for me. It's just educating the community at large about why it's so important to understand diversifying the blood, why it's so important to understand sickle cell, and just donating blood, period. Second, I would say relationships. Just establishing relationships. I feel like for me personally, I don't just ask the people that I partner with, I want to help them too. I want to be a part of what they do. So just keeping those relationships, establishing great relationships with the community so we can keep this wonderful message going on about sickle cell and why it's so important to understand it.
Well, for us at the Arizona Achievers Foundation and partnering with the Red Cross and other community advocates, I would say the partnership starts with aligning goals, making sure that the partner goals are the same as our goals. A lot of times you try to partner with the partner and they're going this direction, you're going that direction, and there's no alignment. The second thing would be trust. I think Dr. Miller talked about trust in the Red Cross. So before there can be trust, there has to be acknowledgement of wrongdoing. And so once somebody can acknowledge, hey, this is where we failed, however, we recognize that and we want to move forward, that's helped our foundation move forward and really be a big proponent and community partner for the Red Cross, because now we can go out and the community can hear from us, who may be more a trusted source than maybe other people like Red Cross or American Heart Association. So when you hear from us and we're championing, the sickle cell and blood, donations, that's a lot more alignment with the community and makes a better partnership for us with the Red Cross.
And so for me, just like Samuel mentioned, trust was the very first thing that we had to address. And as he already said, when a relationship is broken, and we know how the relationships go in our personal lives, when a relationship is broken, the first thing that you have to do is rebuild that trust and be able to have that believability that you will honor your word. And so that was the first work that we did when we started. So we have an initiative called the Sickle Cell Initiative that focuses on encouraging and supporting the Black community to donate blood to meet the transfusion needs of patients with sickle cell disease. But it called for us to really apologize for the damage and the trauma that we have caused to the Black community and diverse communities for 80 years, basically not inviting them in the same way that we invited the white community to donate blood. And still today, over 80% of the blood donated in this country is donated by white people. In general, that's not a problem because we share so many common antigens, because you take those ancestry tests all the time, but they're still not going to tell you, what your true heritage is, because we just don't have that DNA, and you don't have that kind of detail. So we're all of mixed heritage. So we must, but as people of African descent, we have some antigens on our red blood cells that are more common in people of African descent. So for about a third of patients with sickle cell disease, we will find their most compatible unit of blood in someone who is of African descent. So the converse of that is still about 60% of patients with sickle cell disease, a little over, we can find a compatible unit in the general pool, but as our population gets more diverse, look at the census data. If you haven't looked at the census data from the 2020 census, this is probably one of the last censuses, is that how you say census in plural? It's probably one of the last censuses where the largest percentage of the population will be white. This country is becoming more diverse day by day. So if we weren't having this conversation right now, shame on us. So everyone in this room should understand that our country is becoming more diverse. This is probably one of the last opportunities, in terms of the census, for people who feel like they're part of the dominant culture to feel comfortable with that, because that is fast disappearing. So the Red Cross's role is to learn how to interact with diverse communities, invite them with appreciation, apologize for the trauma and shame and disrespect that we have given to those and presented to those communities over the years, and be able to partner in a respectful and kind and loving and generous way.
So, Courtney, let me take over, guys. So it's my turn. We're tag teaming this today. But what I do want to do first is honor Courtney's wish right before she left. She wanted me to share something about Black history for me that is about this event and about sickle cell. And one thing I never ever forget when it comes to anything blood is the gentleman who pioneered this for the American Red Cross, which is Dr. Charles R. Drew. I can't say enough about him. I'm like a kid more in Christmas when I get to talk about him. I actually do host blood drives every year. Last year was my 7th year doing a blood drive in his honor and his memory. Because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be up here today. I wouldn't be able to do the job that I'm doing, and we wouldn't be collecting blood if it wasn't for Dr. Charles R. Drew. So I always want to give homage to that gentleman because, again, if it wasn't for him. And also just let you know, in 1941, he was the first medical director in New York City of a Red Cross blood bank. And that's important for people to know as well. And then I'm going to ask you two some questions, and one of them has to do with Black history. So, Sam, oh, okay, I'll let Dr. Miller go first. Ladies first. So, can you talk about how you have used history and understanding of history, good or bad, to advance your mission?
I, like you, really started being interested in blood banking, transfusion medicine, and medicine in general with the history of Dr. Charles Drew. So I grew up in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is about 45 minutes from Burlington, North Carolina. And Dr. Charles Drew was on, and 2 of his colleagues were on their way to teach some Black residents in Alabama. They were surgical residents, and every year he and his colleagues would drive to Alabama and teach them about surgery and whatever else they need to know about medicine. And one of his colleagues that was driving the car fell asleep, and they had a wreck, and Dr. Drew was severely injured in that wreck. So one of the myths around Dr. Drew's death is that, again, we already mentioned segregation. This was in the 50s. And there was a predominantly white hospital that was close to the wreckage site. And there was a rumor in the Black community that has lasted for years, it has been debunked, that Dr. Drew died because he didn't get a blood transfusion at the white hospital. But his injuries were so catastrophic that he did not survive them. So it didn't have anything to do with the fact that he didn't get a blood transfusion. But I'm saying all that to say, when I was growing up in Winston-Salem, we learned so much about Dr. Charles Drew that even as a child, I knew that there was something about him that was going to be important to me in my life. And then I ended up working for the American Red Cross, where Dr. Charles Drew was a Black man who was the leader of, who was the first medical officer at a time when Black people did not have those kind of leadership opportunities in predominantly white organizations. So that's how it started.
Very well said again.
I'm wondering, Crystal, if there's one, before we transition to next speaker, if there's any questions that we want to address from the audience or online, and if there's any comments coming in. I do know that Dr. Gilia had a nice quick comment on the strength of diversity. Our diversity is our strength. We need donations from all segments of society. But we're trying to stay online. If you have any questions, or feel free to ask your second.
You want to
Address the same question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so my passion towards health outreach in the BIPOC community comes from history, like the Tuskegee era. Have you guys all heard about that? So the distrust has shown me growing up, and even in my adulthood, how a lot of my culture, African Americans, are not really health oriented. They don't want to go to the doctor because of lack of trust. You know, we don't get checkups, but I see us just dropping dead from heart attacks, or whether it's prostate cancer. A lot of us don't go to the dentist. There's a truly big distrust. So my passion and mission is to make sure that we offer it from our foundation, and people see us and they trust us. and we offer it for free. So we do a lot of healthcare outreach. We have a mobile RV that we take into communities. We do free dental checks for them. We do hypertension checks. If you notice over here, we just did a hypertension event. We have blood pressure machines that we give out for free. If we find out that somebody has hypertension, we collaborate with El Rio to get them free health care. And also with the Red Cross, we try to do 3 to 4 blood drives a year, and we also go abroad. I'm a healthcare chairman for the Western Province for our fraternity, so we host blood drives all over, trying to drive up the donations because there's so many African Americans who they go to the hospital, they don't have blood, right? And so, you know, our culture has not been taught the importance, like Dr. Miller said, about giving blood and the impact that we make, especially in Tucson here. We've been trying to, you know, get our blood donations up. So the passion from the history has given me the mission to drive healthcare into the Black community as well as other BIPOC communities.
All right, thank you, Sam. And the second question for the two of you, how does the community get involved with your organization when it comes to donating blood and learning more about sickle cell? I'll let you take the lead on that one.
Oh, yeah. So I'm excited. So this is our office right here. We're 325. You know, we're located in historic Dunbar. That was strategically done. We're the anchor tenant here. We bring several healthcare events. We do blood drives right in this room right here. And you can find us online. Donations are welcome, but more importantly, we like volunteers and advocates and ambassadors. So we want to spread the word of everything that we're doing from all of our outreach programs, and definitely just get ambassadors to champion. And the champions look like me, they look like you, they look any type of champion. We need support from all communities. You know, we're not like, oh, we just need this community. We need all communities to help us champion this effort because we're all one community at the end of the day trying to save everybody, but we're in a certain niche that is not trusty, and we really want to get them as well and include them into being aware and saved and getting good healthcare treatment.
So through the American Red Cross, we have, through the Sickle Cell Initiative, we provide sickle cell trait screening. And since we implemented the Sickle Cell Initiative program in January, I think of 2021, we've done almost 250,000 sickle cell trait screenings. And we also have a public health initiative through our biomedical medical office, where we had a blood pressure campaign as well, a hypertension campaign. So when you come to donate blood, you know, you get your hemoglobin done and your pulse check and your blood pressure. And so through our public health initiative, we monitor our donors' blood pressure, and if their blood pressure is in the hypertension range, then we notify them either in the app or by letter or on our website, our secure website. And we also have been partnering with some healthcare organizations that if those individuals who we send a letter to do not have a healthcare provider, there's some suggestions in there where they can find a healthcare provider. And we at the Red Cross understand, again, how we have failed the community in terms of health equity and equitable access to blood donation. And so we really want to refrain from making the community feel guilty about not donating, because it doesn't have anything to do with their desire not to donate. It has to do with the community not being invited and asked in a culturally competent way to donate blood. And so that's what we work at every day, is being honorable and inviting the community to donate blood to support the health care of the Black community, specifically patients with sickle cell disease.
And if you can't donate, oh, I see a question, but just one second. If you can't donate, sponsor a blood drive. Talk to your neighbor, talk to your family and friends, and talk to them about donating if you can't donate.
So you're screening for sickle cell trait. When did the U.S. start testing babies then?
Can you repeat the question?
So the question is, when did the U.S. start testing babies for sickle cell trait? Start. When they start. So we've known, gotta give you a little backstory. So we've known about, of course, sickle cell disease, of course, since 1910. That's when it was first described. But in this country, it only became mandatory to test every baby born in the United States in 2006. 2006. So generations of people, and anyone of any race and ethnicity can have sickle cell disease, because I like to describe it this way, which makes people scratch their heads. It's not a disease of genetics. It is a genetic disease, but it's a disease of geography. Because those places in the world where malaria is endemic, having sickle cell trait can be protective against dying from malaria. A person can still get infected with the malaria organism, but because the odd-shaped sickle cell is, the environment is hostile to the malaria parasite, the malaria parasite, the cell breaks open and the parasite is released into the bloodstream, and it cannot live free in the bloodstream. And of course, the downside is that where there's large populations of people with sickle cell trait, then there's going to be a significant number of people that have sickle cell disease. And the other thing about sickle cell trait screening in this United States is that there is no unified system to report sickle cell trait results. So still, even though babies are screened for sickle cell trait, many of them never get to know what their sickle cell trait status is because there's no organized way to capture that information and provide it to the family so that they know their child's sickle cell trait status.
We did have, since we have experts on the line, Frank, who runs our lab out of the Arizona Department of Health.
I'm so glad that
she went ahead and said Arizona has been screening since 1979. So we were ahead of the curve. Awesome. That's why we have strong teams. Thank you, Fran. Okay, so
then let's answer the question: how do we notify parents of their child's sickle cell trait status?
I think that is why Moses exists. To help make that happen.
Newborn screening.
We are going to move towards the next transition because I feel like we have doctors actually waiting online and ready to do this for us. So you want to wrap this up, and then I'll go ahead and
I'm going to wrap
Sue.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up, and thank you, Dr. Miller. Thank you, Mr. Sam Ross. And I'll leave you guys with a quote from Dr. Charles R. Drew as we close this out with being Black History Month. Even though he is American history when it comes to blood banking, there must always be the continued struggle to make the increasing knowledge of the world bear some fruit, an increased understanding, and the production of human happiness. Awesome.
Do you want to introduce Sue with Phoenix Children's Hospital? Or I'll do it. So next we have some, so that was basically for the general community. You know, what we're trying to do here is connect to the general community, families living with sickle cell, and then also the medical community. So now we are going to hear from Phoenix Children's Hospital about an exciting project that they have that directly impacts and puts a spotlight on our families living with sickle cell. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce Sue Fetzer, who will introduce our new speaker. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Excellent. Thank you. My name is Sue Plitzier, as she mentioned. Thank you for the introduction. I am a special projects coordinator here at Phoenix Children's Hospital, and it's my pleasure today to introduce to you Dr. Maa-Ohui Quarmyne. Dr. Quarmyne is a pediatric hematologist here at Phoenix Children's. She brings a wealth of knowledge and passion to every patient she serves, but she has a special interest in sickle cell disease. She is also the team lead for our Arizona multidisciplinary and multi-community partner sickle cell data collection project that we are working on, and she's going to introduce that to you today. Take it away, Dr. Quarmyne.
Thanks, Sue, for the nice introduction. I'm glad to be here. I don't see my slides yet. Okay. Thank you. You may move to the next slide. So I'll be talking about the Sickle Cell Data Collection Program over the next few minutes. So there's no national surveillance system in the US for sickle cell disease. There are estimated to be about 100,000 individuals living with sickle cell disease in the US. Obviously, there are millions of people worldwide with the disease. And in Arizona, we don't know the population of patients living with sickle cell disease. Without having a robust surveillance mechanism, we've advanced quite a bit in knowing about the natural history of the disease, but there are gaps in our knowledge and its variable presentations in one patient to the next. We also need to improve our knowledge about how our patients receive care. And we also need to improve and understand how much better outcomes across our states. There is a lack of consistent scientific data to inform decision making, and that is certainly important for decision making that leads to health improvement. And so there is certainly a need for a national health surveillance system for sickle cell disease. Do you mind going back a slide, please? And so the CDC has been trying to do that for over a decade with a variety of different systems. I've listed them below. The system that is being done now is the SCDC, or Sickle Cell Data Collection Program, which began with 2 states, Georgia and Arizona. In 2015, this current iteration of this program began in 2023, and Arizona joined the program at the time. Please move on. And so this slide just shows the current states that are involved in this program. Ideally, it should be across the country, but the CDC has funding for what the states, it was a competitive application and states applied. So these are the states that are involved in this program now. Next slide. And the overall goal of this program is to understand sickle cell disease at the population level. For us in Arizona, it's to understand it in Arizona. We want to learn about the epidemiology of sickle cell, know where our patients are utilizing care and health outcomes. So with that information, we can effect consequential population and policy changes in our states. And then to improve care, quality of care, and health outcomes for patients and individuals living with sickle cell disease. And not just looking at it from a provider standpoint, but involving public health, patients and families living with sickle cell disease, and healthcare providers. Next slide. And the strategies we are using to approach this is to sort of build and enhance an SCDC program infrastructure. And I'll show a picture in a few minutes. We will want to build and strengthen capacity for sickle cell data collection and analysis. And then to use that to inform policies to support the community, and doing this using a multi-pronged, a multi-stakeholder approach. Next. And so across the US, for the programs and the states involved in this program, these are sort of our sources for data collection. It's a statewide program that involves looking at newborn screening, hospital discharge, Medicaid data, emergency discharge, vital records, birth, that includes birth and deaths, and then clinic data where our patients receive care. Move on. And so in Arizona, this is our team that we have so far put together for this to be able to capture accurate information of patients living with sickle cell. Phoenix Children's Hospital, where I'm based, is one of our partners. Arizona Department of Health Services, the newborn screening program from ADHS. We need a data coordinating center, which is at ASU, Center for Health Information and Research. Adult hematology partners at MD Anderson Banner, pediatric hematology from Banner, so that's their 3 sites. And then, of course, our community partners, Sickle Cell Foundation of Arizona, and we have a parent and patient representative as part of this team. Please move on. And it's so important to us that we hear from the community as we collect and put together data. We want to center the community voice as we put together this data. We want to ensure that we are prioritizing trust building, that we have shared goals and defined expectations. We know that there is strength in diversity, there's strength in sort of leveraging everybody's strengths for our mutual benefit. We want to be sure that we incorporate the voices of the community and foster open communication. And I've already talked about this. We want to seek out diverse partnerships and perspectives so that everybody's voice is heard. Next slide. And so we've put together a team. We are in the process of building the database at CHIR, which eventually comes out as a de-identified database. We will know the patterns, but not who the individuals are. And so we will be starting listening sessions through the 360 SCD app and other avenues. We want to gain feedback from families living with sickle cell disease in Arizona. We will organize some in-person and virtual events promoting open communication and engagement. So watch out for future notification on the SCDC app. And I feel that sometimes we engage patients in our bigger cities who come to these events. And so we will be making extra effort once we have a better sense of the epidemiology and when patients are to engage our healthcare providers and patients in not our bigger cities, but rural areas as well, and recognizing that there may be unique needs for health providers in that area. We hope to provide supportive educational sessions about sickle cell disease and assess resources that are available in specialty care. Next slide. Just to reiterate that these listening sessions will be very important. We want the community to participate and share your information. You are the wealth and knowledge about sickle cell disease. You live it every day. You are the gold standard. You know what works, what doesn't work in your community. We want to hear both your successes, your challenges, to know where to focus future advocacy efforts. And to reiterate, it's not collecting and knowing about epidemiology just for knowledge's sake. We want to know where our patients are and where challenges are so we can advocate with data back in what we ask for. Next slide. And so please join our future listening sessions, share your feedback with us, And we will send surveys after these sessions to collect your feedback. Last slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. And this just shows our partners for the CDC grant.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Quarmyne. Are there any questions in the audience for Dr. Quarmyne? This is really an exciting project. If you are living with sickle cell, it's like a weird voice. If you are living with sickle cell, it's an opportunity to put a spotlight and amplify voice. It really is something. Right now, I'd like to bring Moses up to the podium. We were going to do some special introductions before we get into our last deal. What? You can do whatever you want.
I'm so thankful to Dr. Quarmyne for the presentation. One of the challenges we face in the sickle cell community is what's called loss to follow. That sickle cell individual with sickle cell scattered all over. Some have given up. They're just suffering in silence. And besides that, we don't really know how many people really in Arizona have sickle cell. That's to Arizona disadvantage, because if they look around, they say, oh, there are 10 people in Arizona who have sickle cell. Who cares about Arizona? So we lost on all the support infrastructure which is available from the federal government and even the state government. As a matter of fact, sickle cell is not one of the 4 top chronic diseases in Arizona. You know, so you heard in the beginning about advocacy that Cindy is part of that effort. So reaching out and finding out. So if you know somebody who has sickle cell, please. I know when I said that my son had sickle cell or died of sickle cell, there are people who didn't want to shake my hand because they thought sickle cell is contagious. You know, so sickle cell is not contagious. You cannot catch sickle cell. You know, you kiss somebody, they will catch sickle cell. You know, so please share the word and promote, and that's what we're really trying to do.
And can you bring attention to the comment that Fran went ahead and contributed? You can turn around and you can almost read it. See it?
Yes, we received federal grant. It's what is called newborn screening follow-up grant. So every child who is born in the state of Arizona is screened. They send a blood sample to our precious Arizona Department of Health, and they test for all genetic diseases. And one of those is sickle cell.
So I do have a question that I asked earlier. How are the parents notified of the sickle cell trait screening test result?
We have not notified. I know there are over, when I last spoke with Fran, there were over more than 2,000 sickle cell trait individuals born with sickle cell trait. That aspect we're going to explore. That's the next phase in our work. Currently, we are concentrating on sickle cell disease. When a child is born with sickle cell disease, Arizona Department of Health will notify the hospital, notify the pediatrician, notify the hematologist, also send that information to us. So we will follow up. That's because sickle cell monthly follow-up. So we'll follow up with the families and make sure that they keep the appointment. Also, we have a community health worker who is integrated, for example, here at BAN, thanks to BAN. Can you stand up? Yes.
Tequila, go on up there.
Yeah, come on. Tequila is a community health worker for the Tucson and Southern Arizona. So she's integrated with the hospital care team. And we follow all the procedures, HIPAA guidelines, hospital guidelines. Want to say something?
To your question, that is part of my job. So when we get that email, that's my first thing to do is to notify the parents. I send them a text, I give them a call, and then if we can't get to them, we are working on sending them some kind of something in snail mail so that we make sure that they're notified, because there are a lot of parents that get notified but never get to the hematologist or get somewhere to get their child in care. So, we're working on that, but they do get notified. So, yes,
They're
but,
getting informed, right.
yeah.
That's what.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we also, yes, and we also have a community health worker in Phoenix because we are statewide. It's not, Mark, are you up there? So we have a community health worker for Phoenix and Northern Arizona. And we work with Phoenix Children's Hospital. And the only challenge we face, or one of the challenges we face, is adult clinic. So we trying very hard.
I know, I was wondering, while Dr. Quarmyne is available and on, this was a question that came in from the registrations that they would like to have asked. So I thought I'd throw it up there. Dr. Quarmyne, can you see that?
Information on gene therapy versus bone marrow transplant.
Yes.
So we can use one of these forums in the future to talk about gene therapy and bone marrow transplant to educate the community. I think we certainly know that there's a great interest in that, and we can talk to a team that does it and come over and talk about both. Does that answer the question, or was it more print information or resources?
Go ahead.
We're happy to have Pfizer representative here. You want to say?
Go up. Yes, Chanel, go up.
Yes. This is something about,
She's a partner.
We don't really promote the product. We just talk about the gene therapy.
Yeah, so the gene therapy that Pfizer has is for the hemophilia community. It's not for the sickle cell community. So we don't have a gene deal for sickle cell. But I'll introduce myself briefly. My name is Chanel Gresmore. I'm a senior manager in the patient affairs department at Pfizer. My role is to kind of come out, understand more around these community organization events, and I provide funding and support to keep these events going. So I'm here functioning more in a funder capacity and a partner in that manner.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. Any further questions or comments from Dr. Quarmyne before we transition into the power of nurses?
And I just also wanted to make a comment about the sickle cell trait. I know Fran is online somewhere, but the pediatricians get notified as well if that information is filled out correctly, and the pediatricians notify the family. It's not a perfect system because sometimes it doesn't go to the right pediatrician, but that's another way in which families are notified of sickle cell trait status.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And again, apologize for the technical difficulties. This is such important information. So we will be transitioning. Thank you. We will let you get back to your busy schedule. Sue, thank you very much. And Dr. Quarmyne, thank you so much for joining us as speakers today.
Thank you.
Moses wanted me, before we go into this next deal, if you are a community health worker partner with the Sickle Cell Foundation of Arizona, and if you're watching online, go ahead and comment so that we can know that you're here and we can give a call out to you. Did you want to give any call outs to some specific people?
Yes, please.
Yes, of course. Come on here.
If you're out there online and you are a member of our communities, we have about 6 committees and some of them were going to be online. So please let us know, put something in the chat so that when it's time for the committees to show up, we can bring you along. And everybody's out there, please download the app, 360 SCD Hub. It's the brainchild of our mission.
There's having some maintenance issues. Perfect. So we're going to go ahead and transition into our third category, which is medical community. And, you know, nurses play such an important role in everything, starting from the school nurses. So we're going to be talking to the current president of the Arizona School Nurse Organization, which is incredible that she's actually agreed to be on the board at the Sickle Cell Foundation of Arizona. But first, I'd like to have Sarah Speakermeyer come on up here as board chair of Sickle Cell Foundation of Arizona and executive director of Medicaid. But she's going to go ahead and introduce our next couple speakers here. Thanks, Sarah. Thank you, Lucy.
Great transition to one of our final topics for roundtable. So it's our medical community session. Never underestimate the hearts and power of our nurses. So we're going to have a featuring Dr. Danielle Nance from Banner MD Anderson's Cancer Center. And we're also going to feature a panel with Lori Crone, Associate Chief Nursing Officer from Banner University Medical Group in Tucson, and Lisa Alexander, the President of the School Nurse Organization of Arizona. Do you want me to come up here? We got some coming in.
I think everybody's virtual, so we're going to go ahead and call Danielle up here. But Danielle's going to go first, and then Lori will go second with Lisa. Perfect.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for inviting me, and thanks so much for this wonderful opportunity to be a part of this excellent town hall and to be able to get a sense of what's going on out in the world besides what we're doing here at Banner. So just a couple of updates. You know, Banner Health has been taking care of sickle cell patients now for a very long time. We did have an interruption in the sickle cell program that was at Banner University downtown. And as we are rebuilding the resources there for our patients day by day, we're also recognizing that it's not just about having physician leadership within the Banner system, but really working on training all the staff that are needed to support patients with sickle cell. So the patients with sickle cell have very unique challenges that few other types of patients have, including just the intensity of need when a sickle cell crisis strikes. So being able to help train all of the providers who might be involved in the care of a sickle cell patient, from when they show up in the ED to transition between the ED to the inpatient stay, and then being able to follow the needs of the patient when they're out of the hospital as well, and help coordinate their care and getting them to lung doctors and heart doctors and the different types of doctors that can help support a person's wellness when they are in between crises and hopefully able to participate in life fully with their families and their jobs and everything that they would want to do as part of a normal life. So because we recognize that not every provider, nurse, physician, nurse practitioner, or physician assistant has had the opportunity to have sickle cell training, then we've been working on some nursing education programs. So these would be small 5 to 10 minute sessions that we would bring to the nurses several times, several times over the course of several months. So being able to give them some tips and tricks on what does sickle cell mean? What type of pain medicines help with sickle cell? Is there anything else we can do? Can we do other things to help support our patients, like heating pads and appropriate fluids, and what kind of supportive things can we do to help our patients? So, utilizing really like developing multimodal ways to take care of patients when they're in the hospital, and then training our nurses on that. So we're in the process of still developing that program for our nurses. We're doing the pilot project out at Banner Gateway Hospital. And then as we get that figured out, we'll hopefully be able to share that with our other hospitals around. The distribute or the number of sickle cell patients at Banner hospitals isn't super high compared to all of the patients that we see in the hospitals, but we know that sickle cell patients tend to stay quite a bit longer than some other patients just because of what's happening in their bodies and how challenging sickle cell is on a person's body. So being able to kind of identify additional ways to help support patients is extremely important to those of us who are, at the front lines of trying to deliver care. I was really happy to hear about some of the, I think some of the things that the um, transfusion services have been thinking about when it comes to justice and apologies for care that has been inconsistent or not being invited. And so as we're thinking about this as providers at Banner Health, our focus is really, about developing the competence that we need in order to take care of every patient who comes through our doors, and to figure out the ways that we need to do that, including developing cultural competence for all. As we're doing this, we're going to be able to invite some patients with sickle cell um, to assist in building that cultural competency as we're training our nurses and our other providers here. I'm really excited about that. Even in the first month where we've been using we call it a multimodal approach to pain management, it already seems like we're able to, reduce the days that people are in the hospital, even after just about 6 weeks of this little, program that we've been doing. So it's pretty exciting, and I'm really hopeful that we'll be able to share that with all the colleagues around the Banner system. Um, other news within the Banner system is how are we going to take care of patients when they're transitioning out of Phoenix Children's Hospital and the most excellent care that they have been receiving there, because they're adults, they're in their 20s now, and it's appropriate when you're in your 20s to move away from the pediatric hospitals into a more adult setting. And so that is, there are many big challenges there when it comes to taking care of adults. In the first place, adults are expected to take care of themselves even when they have, chronic and intensive medical care. And so there are, and then the other thing is that once a person is an adult, then it's up to them to identify a helper if they need a helper to help them manage their care. And so that's an extra person involved in the care. And so making sure that as individuals are transitioning, that we have all of these different mechanisms and different processes in place. So, do we have the right paperwork so that every patient who's coming from pediatric to adult setting has their support person there for every visit? Like, how do we make sure that happens so that the recommendations that we have, the person who has the condition has the right support in order to be able to get those recommendations built into their lives, and really make sure that what we intend to happen makes it all the way through the process to actually happening. So those are some challenges that we know exist and that we're working on getting set up. So I think a lot of the folks here on SCD 360 have met or know of Naomi Newman, and she's just been such a bright burst of energy, and she's just kind of energy when it comes to getting things done, making sure that we're not letting anything fall by the wayside. And so it's been a pleasure to work with Dr. Newman at Banner University as a primary care provider, a quarterback for healthcare for patients with sickle cell disease. So that's been great, great from our standpoint as well. So I think that's pretty much about all the news I have. In addition to that, we've been absolutely thrilled to be able to work with Phoenix Children's Hospital on being part of the sickle cell data collection project, and to be able to understand who, I guess, where the patients are, how many they are, and how much of our resources do we need to prepare so that we can adequately take care of those whose care is entrusted to us. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it. Happy to take any questions if anyone has any questions about any of the specific things that we're doing. When does the training begin? So we're actually working with our nurse leadership now to make sure that we have all the people in place that we need. We're hoping that we're going to be able to start this training. We were hoping the beginning of March, but it's looking like towards the end of March when we'll be able to get everything started. Anybody have any other questions?
One last.
What is the biggest gap with knowledge in SCD? Gosh, I would say it's misunderstanding regarding what a pain crisis really is. And I think developing that compassion in our providers to really, really recognize what does a pain crisis really mean. And my understanding of this is, and when I'm explaining it to other providers, is really that, the blood flow is stopping in certain parts of a person's body. And so when that happens, the nutrients, the oxygen, all of the things that part of the body needs to survive and live are cut off. So during that time when the blood supply is stopped, the nerve endings become injured, frazzled, frayed, like an electrical wire that now has a piece of the insulation stripped away from it. So, just like if you were to touch that part of the wire, you would get a shock. The nerve endings in that entire part of the body have been frayed, and it takes time for those nerve endings to repair and to rebuild that cover around themselves so that they're not as sensitive anymore. And that's, I think, the biggest misconception is how long that process takes. So once the blood flow is restored again, it still takes a good 72 hours or longer in order for the body to start to soothe those raw nerve endings. And so that's where I think we have the biggest opportunity to really help support our nursing and our not just our nursing, but also our other providers, to give them a sense of, how long should the very intense pain from a sickle cell crisis last? What we've learned over the years, and not necessarily in our hospital, but in many other hospitals, and they've shared their experience, is that when we are really, really good at blanketing the pain right away, right in the beginning, when we hit it really hard and heavy, we interrupt those pain signals, then the brain can settle down and get to the business of fixing the nerve endings. When the pain isn't completely treated, it's really, really hard for the body to get back to work at repairing things. And so instead of repair, the body gets stuck in fight and flight mode. And that just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So we've been working on really training that very upfront intensive pain regimen to really help, blanket the pain and get that person out of fight or flight mode and into rest mode so their body can recover. So far, that is already showing itself to help, as I said, get people out of the hospital faster. So there are, we're kind of training nurses one by one as they're taking care of our patients. But what we're, of course, what we're expecting to do, what we're really hoping to do is to be able to train everyone so that everyone has an idea of, oh, what are we doing and why are we doing it and why is it such, why are we all in such a hurry to get this taken care of right now?
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. And so next we've got, do you want to make a quick, thank you, Dr. Nance, for joining us. I'm going to transition to the next, but our fearless leader has a message. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I want to thank Dr. Nance for inviting the Sickle Cell Foundation to be a part of this nurse training program, and we are ready and we are going to sponsor that program. So, and we can see it growing. I'm hoping that in future it will extend to even social workers, because
yeah.
I mean, when you hear about stigma, when you hear patients not wanting to go to the hospital, the nurses are at the front line when it is emergency room. So the more they are educated about the disease, the better the outcome for our clients. So give a kudos.
Can you introduce Lisa and Lori, please?
I am so fortunate as an individual, even more so, the Sickle Cell Foundation of Arizona, and indeed the Sickle Cell community is so fortunate to have the hospitals welcoming us to the extent that we can have a community worker being a part of the K team. And from the first time that I was introduced to Lori Throne, the Chief Nursing Officer, she is amazing. I have to apologize to her in front of all of you because the times I said, can I call you? And she responds, and she said, just go ahead. And so it's my honor and pleasure to introduce Lori Throne, the Chief Nursing Officer at Banner Medical University, and also a member of our board. Lori.
And she's presenting with Lisa, so go ahead and introduce Lisa as well.
And Lisa is the president of the School Nursing Association, Arizona School Nursing Association. You may not know how important this is for the sickle cell, for the kids who go to all these school districts. She has the inside scoop of these school districts. And so we are developing advocacy with her and Laura. Advocacy for our kids in school. Advocacy for the mom. Advocacy for the whole community. They are the leaders. So it's my honor again to introduce Lisa Alexander, who is also our board member. Lisa.
Hi, Tim.
Hi.
It's online.
I will go first. Lori will follow after me. Thank you for having me. The speakers today are exceptional, super intelligent, and I am school nursing for 20 years, and it is my job to keep kids in class, get them in school, get them in class learning so they could be as accomplished as these speakers today. I have been a registered nurse for 27 years, but definitely hung around that school nursing role for quite a while because that's where I make the most change. I ready for next slide. I do want to really empower some parents, if you're listening, to advocate for yourself and your child. And that's kind of the inside scoop I'm going to give you today. Just some basic things to kind of get you going when you're enrolling your child in a school. So part of the failure for some students being able to stay in school would be the lack of understanding from the staff. Not every school has a school nurse, which, by the way, if you want to advocate for students with sickle cell, advocate for school nurses in Arizona. But not every school does have a school nurse, and that can be a challenge. But even if there is a school nurse, we just don't see as many students with sickle cell as we do with diabetes and asthma and students with seizures and stuff like that. So what you want to do when you're first enrolling before that start date is set a meeting with that nurse and explain everything about your child, because you are the expert. And we need that to happen, and we want that to happen, and we want you to disclose to us that they do have sickle cell. Next slide. Another obstacle that we do see in the school setting would be a lack of doctor's orders. We do, like the other things I mentioned, diabetes, asthma, seizures, kind of you name it. We have doctor's orders come in from action plans, treatment plans, and things like that. When it comes to sickle cell anemia, I don't recall getting an action plan or doctor's orders, these bullet points or things I'd love to see from a provider. And these would really help. Of course, with a crisis, we want orders for exactly what to do. But when, day to day, there's things that other children can do that maybe they can't. And we want that in writing. And that will only help make sure that these things get done and that your child's more protected. Next slide. So if there is a school nurse on your campus, that nurse can write what's called an individualized healthcare plan, an IHP. It can only be done by a nurse, but you will get with that nurse and he or she will write up some goals and interventions and things like that. And really the main goal is that your child's as free from harm as possible. And if something's identified, that it's taken care of quickly, efficiently, and precisely, really. And so it just has goals like, we're not going to see the child all day, but they need to drink. It's hot in Arizona. So we need to make sure that that teacher understands that they need to drink and prompt this child to drink every 30 minutes or whatever it takes. It includes plans for staff training and different things like that. If there's no nurse, you still need some sort of plan in writing so everybody's on the same page. And that other part of the slide here, that parent communication, it's the most important thing when we're talking about the partnership between schools and parents. We want to know what you want us to call for. We're, someone with sickle cell, we're going to call for every complaint until there's some parameters drawn up. And then, until the parents say, hey, maybe you don't have to call for every tummy ache, but do call for this, just please work with the nurse and don't be afraid to call and say, this is how I think we need it to go. Next slide. I mentioned IHPs that nurses can draw up as plans. What most schools, definitely public schools, can offer are 504 plans. So when you need maybe a little bit more than a nursing plan because you need a lot of accommodations in the classroom, like more time for missed work, and maybe there's some PE considerations when it's a little hot. We don't want them to lose credit, so maybe there's an alternate activity they can do indoors, and tons of other stuff that a 504 plan can accommodate. Please advocate for that with your administration at the school. And that has to be followed by law to a T. So that's something that would be great to be in place for a student with sickle cell. And then we definitely want to make sure that staff members are trained, not just the nurse, not just the person designated to be in the health service kind of office, but we want to make sure teachers are trained in admin and anybody who cares for that child for a period of time during any given day. And, there's a lot of students who come to nurses' offices. I think the record we have in my district is 101 in one day. But I have some schools average 60 to 70 a day. And then, of course, there's some that have a bit less. But we're seeing all sorts of things. And eventually some teachers might hold some kids back, like, no, you go every day, you can't go today. Deal with the joint pain, I don't see anything. And so we need to make sure that teachers know you do not hold this kid back from visiting the nurse. So we need unlimited nurse office visits for whatever they say is wrong. And we need teachers to understand, please let them out of class to catch the water fountain. Please let them have whatever water they need inside the classroom. Please encourage them to drink. Just tons of training so they're empowered to take care of your child as well. And then we need sub plans to make sure that if that teacher's absent, that the substitute has a full idea of what they need to do and monitor for that child. And then the nurse also needs some sub plans as well, just so in case they're absent, that they have a full understanding in case that child comes in. And I think that's about all I have for right now. I think I'll pass it to Lori, who is in person there.
Thank you for allowing me to be here today, and I met and learned from every single person that got to speak today. And I met half of the people that I've worked with in the past or currently work with now. Unbelievable, didn't expect to see so many friends here today. But I'm the Associate Chief Nursing Officer for Banner Medical University Medicine. So for us, our arsenal of team members, when someone comes into the hospital sick with sickle cell, is of course our frontline is our doctors, our nurses, our nurse practitioners, and our nurse navigators who are taking care of those patients, whether it's in the clinic, in the emergency department, and in the hospital. And then really once that plan gets started, our social workers are, at bedside seeing every single patient and working with the family to understand what services they need. Are they having trouble with food security and housing security, and what else besides the price events at hand is also worrying them. And our job is to try and alleviate anything that we can so that they can focus on their child's care. So the social workers do an intake, like I said, and we have our own resources. Some are from Diamond Children's Foundation for our children. We have other foundation supports. And then also, I didn't know Beverly was going to be here today. I was going to tell you about ventilators, but I don't know if that's Beverly's world, and she supports us greatly. And last night, when I saw her at a different event, because one of our social workers was retiring after decades of service, she gave me a one-page front and back of all of the services that she provides and events that they're going to be having this year to help take care of our community. So they're doing summer camps and parties and light up the night, and I mean, she just does everything for our patients. So I don't know if you want to say anything.
Oh, that's just the legal stuff.
We have a special slot for her later, so.
Okay. All right. And then the Lizzie Bell Foundation is also another support for us. And, Lizzie was a patient of mine back in the day, and she's a full-grown, beautiful, living her life adult. But the Bell Foundation also provides support services, financial, and anything they can do to help support families. And then Tunadito also helps support families in our community, whether it's serious illness, death of a family member, just anything that comes along that the family needs support with, they will do that. And then two other members of our team are our, let's see, where are we? Our child life specialists, and then our teachers. And our child life specialists.
I'm sorry.
No, that's me. That's me. So we have our own teacher. We're blessed really to have funding for a Diamond Children's teacher. And her job when a sickle cell patient comes in is about, once through the initial crisis, is trying to work with them to stay well, pain management, self-care, preventive care, And then helping schools, so it really ties in with everything Lisa spoke of, is making sure that the athletic department knows what they may be able to do, what they cannot do, what alternatives are about the weather, hydration, staying really hydrated. They also help provide those physician letters that were spoken about some guidelines for the patients. While they're well, maybe when they're a little under the weather, so trying to help with that. And also, we have lots of PowerPoints and other documents that we can give to the schools to help with the teacher, what she should be looking for in the classroom, what teachers can do to help, and then guidance counselors, what their job is as far as we're concerned, and then what the school nurse can do, which I think is covered beautifully. And then also our child life specialists. And child life specialists, their job is really to normalize the hospital experience and make it easier for them to, if it's a child, make it easier for them to act like children and play. And then also, I don't know much about Alec Duck, and I don't know if Lori does, but this is a duck that you can talk to, because it's much easier for children to talk to pets than it is to people sometimes. And you can discuss your feelings and emotions with Alec, and he has some interactive discs that help him speak back to you. So those are just a few of the things that we have in the hospital. One of the things that I heard that resonated here was about trust, and really the first step is, how do we partner with families so that they will trust us to deliver care, and partner with them to try and keep them in a maybe healthier state, or support them when they're really, when they and the family are really struggling.
I think that is, I'm going to put stuff in there. That was wonderful. Information to cover. I just feel like it's just all this great information.
I just wanted to applaud you guys because the whole education aspect for the teachers and the schools. I had the pleasure of meeting a young woman. She had a bone marrow transplant though, but she gave her story about growing up with sickle cell. And one thing people don't understand is the cold is not their friend. And so she had an incident at school where the teacher thought she was like being defiant or didn't want to go outside, and she, and so I applaud you guys for that, because she had to have a classmate stand up for her. She was very young when it happened, and the classmate had to say she can't go outside because she, she could have, a crisis or something could happen because she had sickle cell disease. So I applaud you guys for that. That's really important to do.
Well, thank you, and that's for my family.
Well, I think we're trying to stay on time, or else I would take 4 or 5. But there's some fun things now. Moses, I'm going to invite you back up. Thank you, Lori. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Come here, my friend. Okay, so on the agenda it says rewards and kind of cool stuff, and so. Okay.
Well,
all right.
How many minutes do I have? 1 hour?
A special highlight award, and then we're going to give away some cool stuff. Okay.
When the Sickle Cell Foundation started in 2012, someone told me that in 2 years I'll give up. I'll be so frustrated. I said, okay. Didn't have anything to say. And then I was introduced to the Candelitis Childhood Cancer Foundation by Dr. Herb, who was also my kid's hematologist. And Candelitis, really, we didn't have anything. We had really, we started from ground zero. So we were really part of Candelitis. And Candelitis when there were financial needs, from the social worker would send a request and say, this family needs this, this family needs that. It was candlelights that provided all that financial resources. And I learned so much from Beverly. She always said, take the bull by the horn. And so, Beverly, can you come up here? Whether it is the camp, she does it all. More than 25 years, she does it all. And she called me yesterday and said, I have a volunteer for you. I can't say enough about her. She's integrated into the Sickle Cell Foundation. And without candlelighters, I don't know how we would have done in the beginning. So it is my honor on behalf of the board of directors and the family, the community, to present to you. This was supposed to happen last year. For your leadership, support, and dedication by the Sickle Cell Foundation of Arizona. 2024, but it's still 2024.
Nice smile. For the camera. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
All right, you. Yay for the camera.
Now, I'd like to throw some comments up here, and then I would like you to just address them, just because we've got some interaction here. So one of the comments was interesting. Throw that up there. You guys notice there's a little delay. Do you want to read it out loud, Moses?
Most of the talk is about children and those transitions to adulthood. Is there anything on the sickle cell and aging? Ooh. I believe we have material on the 360 SCD Hub, because really it's progression. Well, I can look at it. As you grow, as you get older. But if you're isolated, if you're on your own, then you're lost. So I couldn't answer the question and say, oh, if you are 50 years old, but I can say it's a progression as you transition from pediatric or wherever in the healthcare system that you are integrated with. Let's say you show up at 25. There's a training for you. There's sufficient educational material that can help you, which have been covered by the doctors. Even by the, if you go on the 360 app, that's the reason it's so important to go on the 360 app, because we have all the educational materials that would help you throughout your life journey in terms of food, in terms of weather, as they're talking about, because the pen doesn't show up on your forehead. So, yes, we did not really say, oh, if you are 45 years old. We just present the educational material for your entire life journey.
It begs the question, though, to look into content for seniors with STD. We certainly have that committee.
We will investigate specifically to say for seniors, this is because sickle cell patients are living longer than they used to be. So.
And before rewards, just a couple quick call outs. We had Ladidra Harris contribute online with some comments. She has 2 daughters who have sickle cell disease, one who's gone through bone marrow transplant, and the other is 16. Thank you for joining. We've got a gift for you for participating. And then I also wanted to give a shout out to Mystique B. She is also listening online. Her name is Brittany Bridges. She lives in Arizona. She has sickle cell. I recently joined the Committee for Family Advocacy and Education. Yes, a committee chair. Thank you. Thank you, Brittany. And then there was the last question that I will Do we have any doctors? Ooh, Dr. Miller, this might be for you. This last question was, are doctors that treat SCD looking into prescribing the new non-opioid drug, Jardiance? And you might want to go up there.
So I'm not familiar with that particular drug, but one of the things that sort of.
Oh, all I know is that it's in clinical trial right now.
You can go up there.
Okay. Sorry, I just learned about this a couple days ago. I think it's still in clinical trial, so I'm not sure if it's even available right now. But we can find out more information and put it on the app.
Got it. Just wanted to bring some of those questions into light.
So I do have a question, and I think you mentioned in passing self-care. So what kind of advice do you have for patients and families in terms of, you know, what kinds of things that they can do when they start to feel pain coming on or feel irritated or having, you know, just some difficulties that they can do in the moment to help maybe, you know, prevent a full-blown crisis. So when you mentioned self-care, what kind of things were you thinking of?
Is that me?
I think that's
I don't know that I mentioned that, but let's see what I could do with that.
When it was either you or the person that was online, you or the one that was school nurse.
Lisa, did you have something about that if somebody is starting to feel?
Oh, she's not on anymore.
Oh, not anymore. Okay, I'll see what I can do about that. Well, I would think that trying to get in a calmer space, a quieter space, a dimmer space, maybe some warmth, making sure that they're warm. Maybe Aquila could even tell us more than anybody else, you know, from a nursing standpoint, but from a real life standpoint. I would think that just quietness, hydration, and warmth are just the things that I would say off the cuff. I don't know if that's what
I would love to add, can I add one thing?
Yeah, we had brought at our monthly empowerment group meeting, we had invited a therapist to come and talk about self-massaging, how can massage and all of that.
I was just going to say, you know, the app actually has a tracker. And sometimes if you don't track, you don't know, right? And so when you have a pain crisis that's about to come on, or maybe you had one earlier, if you just track it, give it a severity, track what you were doing when the pain came on board, track what you did to alleviate the pain. Come back an hour later and give yourself another rating. Did it work? Did it make it worse? That's the type of data that actually is the tool that's inside this app right here. And I think that's one of the biggest things you can do, because you won't know what to do unless you know that maybe you're causing it 70% of the time because you're not hydrated or something like that. I just wanted to remind everybody that there's a tracker that can actually help that.
And you can share that information with your provider.
Exactly, that's the best thing, is being able to have real life data to show your provider. Okay, 80% of my pain is in my head, and it's when I don't sleep because I was with Moses all night. No, I'm just kidding. But so let's wrap this baby up. I've got some names, and we're gonna go ahead and you're gonna give away some gift cards. Thank you. So Moses, the first giveaway that you had was for the first 10 people that registered in person. You have a gift card for them, right?
Yes.
So I'm just gonna say these names. I'm just gonna say these names, and if you're here, go find Moses afterwards. And if not, we'll go ahead and get them to you some way. But Brianna Boitano.
There's you.
Brianna is here, yay! Good job. Then we have Jennifer Stingley. Oh, she did? Okay, but she was here. Great. Beverly Tidwell, of course. Faye Thompson. Let's see, Naomi De La Rosa Ariana. Naomi. Okay, Andrew Saul, representing Pima Gut. Okay, but Andrew was here. Okay, that's awesome. We have Pima County Health Department.
I
in
just
the
wanted to
house.
say they need to meet, can you stand, please come?
Oh, Wilda, come on. Okay, and then we've got a couple more names. Andrew Saul. Oh no, that was Andrew. Nancy McGuckin. Is Nancy still here? Okay. Francie Arroyo.
Oh, she is not here.
Okay. Well, we've got them listed here as winners, so they'll get emails. Okay, Fiona Daniels was Red Cross also, and then Shane R.
Oh, you get it right.
Okay, close this out, Moses.
Okay, I just want to say all those names, please. You will meet with Awilda DeCarlo is Director of Finance for the Sickle Cell Foundation. And so you'll get your names and then we'll give you the $35 gift card.
Right. All righty, go ahead and close this out.
Well, I want to thank the Red Cross. What is Courtney?
She's left.
I want to thank Sarah, Ben, on behalf of all that. I want to thank Dr. Yvette for I want to thank Lori and Lisa and all those on the virtual, all of them. And I want to thank the super lady.
I don't know.
And that is Courtney. And I want to thank all of you. I cannot leave out Sam. Hi Sam, can you come out here? I used to bring my kids to have a haircut. And someone told me about Sam. And finally, I met Sam. So we are so blessed to have Don Pavilion working with us. I was always looking for, I said, where can we find a place where we can meet in person? Yes. We got it. Thank you. God bless you. On behalf of the Sickle Cell Foundation of Arizona, on behalf of Banner Family of Hospitals, on behalf of PCH, on behalf of our board of directors, Force for Health, Dr. Gilio, Dr. I can't name people's names because I'm going to forget the name of the doctor. And of course, the Red Cross. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the hard work. We are going to have a big event in June. It's called African American Disability Conference and Chronic Health Symposium. It's going to take place in June. Actually, it's going to be nationwide. So we look forward to that, and I hope we'll see you again. And this event happens every quarter, actually. It coincides with the African American Black History Month. So it is a joy and a privilege and honor for us to celebrate this Black History Month and also Sickle Cell Foundation and also the Roundtable. And I really want to welcome Pfizer representative for coming. Can you come out here? Get a picture.
Funders will usually stay in the background.
Okay. Thank you. You came out here from? Exactly. And you cover which communities?
Oh, I should have mentioned that. So I cover the West Coast. So
Yeah.
I cover all of Arizona, California, Nevada, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington.
Yeah.
So you'll
Thank
probably
you.
see me across the West Coast somewhere.
Thank you for coming out.
On behalf of the Sickle Cell Disease Foundation of Arizona and all of our 360-degree SCD Hub community partners, we thank you for joining us. Let's continue our efforts to advance together by empowering families, educating the medical community, and eradicate stigma within the general community through outreach and advocacy. Please download and join us at www.360scdhub.org. We look forward to working together, because together we will rise.